back at Penguin. It's Penguin year this year. So next author on my list, I'll go ahead and have him go ahead and introduce himself and tell us what he has done for Penguin.
Hi, I'm Daryl Gregory. The new book is Spoonbenders that came out June 27th, 2017, and we're here at Comic-Con to sell this and talk about it.
Very straight to the point, very frank.
Straight to the point. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
No sugar.
This is what we're doing here.
Which is kind of funny because that's kind of how your book is.
So it's about the amazing Telemachus family, and they're like the Von Trapp family of psychics, and that they travel around, they perform, and they were famous for like 10 minutes in the 70s, and then it's 20 years later, and everything's fallen apart. Nobody's made a dime off their powers, and until the grandson Matty, you know, could travel outside his body in a very embarrassing way at the beginning of the novel. And then the rest is like hijinks.
It's like, how do I talk about this without giving it away? How did you even go about organizing this? Like, did you have a timeline? Did you have the ending? Did you have the middle? Like, how did you go about organizing this whole puzzle of a story?
But organizing it, I wanted every chapter is told from a different point of view of each family member. And so I wanted to work out this plot line so that everybody had their own stories to tell, and I wanted all the plot lines to converge on the last day, on Labor Day 1995, at a big family picnic. And I wanted one of those big stories, like it's almost like in Much Ado About Nothing, where all the plot lines come together at the country house, and there's doors slamming, and there's people being shot at. I guess that didn't happen in Shakespeare, but I wanted one of those big kind of boisterous novels, and then where everything sort of comes together at once. And that took it did take a long time to plan this out and work out how all these stories would interconnect. And so there'd be sometimes in the middle of writing the book, I'd all of a sudden realize that I'd blown it in some way. And have to pause for days while I tried to figure out how to reconnect all the dots to make everything work out.
Did you have to use like a post-it note system and a big whiteboard and like yarn? Like, that's pretty much how I imagine you're organizing this.
Oh, that's what I should have had a big murder wall with the yarn connecting all the different things. I had a really detailed outline, and then I also had spreadsheets where I was trying to keep track of people's ages, because we do flashbacks where they appear as earlier kids, like when they're when they're performing or when they're other parts of their lives. And I thought I did a really great job until I rewrote the book and I changed the order of some scenes.
Oh, no.
And then the copy editor was like, this person cannot be this age at this time in the story. I'm like, thank you. This is why you have copy editors. They protect you from looking really stupid. I was really grateful.
Now, you mentioned about the grandson discovering his power in a very super, no joke, really embarrassing way. I did notice, though, that it seems like the powers manifest through like almost extreme emotion or like release of emotions. Is that correct, where I'm thinking?
No, and also they don't work. So, for instance, Frankie can move objects with his mind, except when people are judging him or he feels negativity and he's nervous, so then his powers all fall apart. So, and that actually was an idea I stole that was one of the excuses Uri Geller used for his powers, which is they don't work when there's negativity around. So these kind of, I use some of the same excuses that psychics would use for why their powers can't be tested, and I use them as the physics for, okay, so that's the way psi powers really work. And that became the rules for the game in Spoonbenders.
I mean, I can believe it. I mean, they always talk about chemicals that get triggered for so it could be something for it.
Sure, I'll buy that.
Yeah. It's good. And of all the characters that I became really fascinated, it's like this equal parts of repel and fascination with Frankie himself.
Oh, Frankie!
Please tell me more about him.
Frankie was the most fun to write because he's so desperate. He's in debt to the mob. He's always looking for the next big score. Nothing has ever worked out. He got close to a big casino score at a roulette wheel once, and everything fell apart. I'm giving too much away now, but I love Frankie because also he's desperate, and there's nothing sort of funnier than a desperate person. There's something really close, like sadness and comedy come really close together, and he's involved in a multi-level marketing scheme trying to sell food supplements to people, and oh gosh. Goji berries are really important to Frankie. Arrested Development or the Royal Tenenbaums. Like I'm a big fan. I was reading, I'm a big fan of the early John Irving novels like Hotel New Hampshire and Prayer for Owen Meany and World According to Garp. I wanted to write one of those kind of sprawling family novels. And my family was really quiet, but I grew up in Chicago, and I'd go to sleepovers at friends' houses, and they had like these really exciting families where they yelled at each other, and there was doors slamming, and it was like fantastic, and I thought, that's the kind of family I want to be in. And so this is my way in to sort of invent the Telemachus family.
As I'm reading this, I was like, this has to become a movie. Like, are there any talks about this being optioned for a movie?
So it's been optioned. They're trying to make a television show out of it.
Oh.
So Paramount and Anonymous Content are trying to make a show, and they want to basically take that first book and have that be the first season. And so and the great thing about that is that unlike a film where they'd have to cut a lot out and just maybe pick one storyline, they're going to try to do everything. So
that's so exciting.
We'll see if it happens. There's a lot of steps to go through, but the screenwriter who's working on it right now, she's fantastic, and so I have high hopes.
Oh. Well, then in that case, do you think is there going to be like a follow-up to Spoonbenders?
Well, Nicole, the screenwriter, said, we have these ideas for season 2. I'm like, could you tell me? Because that would save me a lot of time if you could tell me what the plot was for the next book. And she's like, well, maybe you'll have to decide that. So I have no idea what happens next. I would have to figure that out.
So since it's been released, how has the fans' reaction been to the book?
I've been so happy with that people like this book. The reviews have been very kind. People seem to like this family and like hanging out. I wanted to make one of those hangout novels where you liked getting to know this family and you were willing to stick with them, for like 400 pages, and that's the kind of book I wanted. Like, I just wanted people to be able to hang out with this family. So I'm very happy that people seem to be enjoying that.
And you most definitely delivered on that, I gotta say. Although I am kind of curious about the title itself, Spoonbenders. So is that the kind of like an inside joke to something, or just not that it's like, the I can't think of the word right now, but
no. Well, it comes from. So Uri Geller, who was famous in the 70s as a psychic, and his big trick was bending spoons.
Oh, so it was? Okay.
Yeah, so it's really a thing you would do with your mind, right? Supposedly with your mind. And so, but I like the sadness of Spoonbenders in that, yes, you have a superpower, but it's just bending cutlery. And do we really need that kind of power? Like, if you want to bend something, just reach over and bend it. Like, why do you have to use your mind to do that? And that's sort of the level of their powers in this book.
We're going to see kind of what happened in the 70s with the CIA and all that stuff.
Well, right. I mean, there's a lot suggested there, like what was happening in the 70s. And all that stuff that's happening where they get involved in a government project, that's all real stuff. So we actually had Project Stargate. We funded it. The Congress funded it until 1995. And you can go online right now through a Freedom of Information Act request. The CIA had to put all the documents about Project Stargate, where they were testing psychics, including Uri Geller. It's online. You can look at all the notes. Just Google CIA and Project Stargate, and you will see all the weirdness that we paid millions and millions of dollars to support.
Well, I didn't know that. Okay, so I just learned something completely kind of depressing but fascinating at the same time.
I know. It's great for novelists that we have this thing actually exists. It's not great probably that we spend a lot of money on stuff that turned out to be never pass any kind of scientific muster.
No, I'm just kidding.
Right, unless it actually happened.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, of course, now it's a fun question. Which power do you think you would have yourself?
Oh, the power I have is not the power I wanted as a kid, and I still kind of want it. And it's not even in the book. It's teleportation. Like, I was a big X-Men Nightcrawler fan. I wanted to be able to bamf anywhere, and and even today I've been on this book tour for 3 weeks, and I keep thinking it'd be so nice to be able to just like bop home, sleep in my own bed, bop back to the next place.
The airlines wouldn't be very happy with
But
you.
the airlines would not be happy. I would not be able to let them know I had this power.
Well, that's conspiracy. What if they themselves stopped that kind of power?
Oh, right. That's a perfect book. Like the American Airlines, everybody goes after and kills all the teleporters to make sure that no one has to stop using.
Right.
Ding, we've written it right now. You were here.
And then other than Spoonbenders, are you working on any future projects right now?
Yeah. I'm working on... there's a young adult series I write called Harrison Squared, which is like a Lovecraftian adventure. There's like tentacles and monsters and kids who are solving mysteries. And so that's coming out from Tortine. Book 1 is out, and I've just been writing the draft for book 2, and there'll be a book 3, and that'll all be rolling out at some point.
You are super busy.
I'm really busy. I'm really happy to be busy. It beats the alternative.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Oh,
you
thanks
guys,
so much.
Spoonbenders is so great. Like, I love it. I'm fangirling, literally. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.